Welcome to JGTCR. I'm Cope, and today we are tuning the Corvette C7 Gr.3 road car. Let's get into it. This C7 road car has a wide stance, which provides good stability while cornering and braking. Unfortunately, it can't do anything for acceleration, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The handling is rock solid. It feels firm and stable when cornering. However, there is a slight hesitation when turning in. The power we have available is good, but delivery of that power seems aggressive, even to the mildest of touches on throttle. Traction is lost far too easily and can catch us off guard, so good throttle modulation is needed if we want to be fast. The brakes are very solid and stable when slowing down. However, it can take longer to slow down from higher speeds. Lower speed braking is more accurate and spot on for this application. Let's collect our time. "7 minutes 31 seconds flat." And now the race tune. The C7 road car suffered from both over and understeer. Our front downforce was locked, so we used 30 kilos of ballast at a ballast positioning of -40 over the front wheels to regain some front end traction. The remainder of our setup is used to try and get traction from the tail end. Let's see how it performs on the Nürburgring. After being modified and tuned, this C7 road car is much more user-friendly. We are now able to push the limits much more comfortably with less drawbacks. The handling is still incredibly stable, and we can feel the stance and road presence when negotiating turns. The ballast over the front wheels helps us get a sharp and precise steering. This makes for an agile vehicle on circuit. The power has had a decent bump in the stats, and delivery of that power is now very tame and easy to manage. The tail does still step out on us occasionally, however, it is predictable and easy to get on top of. The brakes are as stable as ever with no issues to report at all. Let's collect our time. 6 minutes 38.7 seconds. Moving on to the drift tune. Only a few tweaks were needed to make the C7 road car drift. The most important of these, of course, was the ballast of 60 kilos at the ballast positioning of -40 over the front wheels. Again, this was our answer for the lack of downforce over the front end. Let's drift Suzuka. The wide stance of the C7 road car makes it very stable while drifting. Movements on track are fluid, and it's easy to make adjustments to our speed, line, and angle. The handling is very stable and responds well to our inputs at all times. The steering is crisp and attentive. We can also be quite heavy-handed and not suffer too much at all. The power is very reasonable for the application and does not upset the balance of the car, no matter how aggressive our drift style is. Power delivery is incredibly smooth and not aggressive in any way, but can borderline on being a touch weak if we venture too far out of the power band. The C7 Gr.3 road car is a very vanilla drift car in essence, and makes for a great starter, beginner-friendly drift car. Let's do an engine swap. The C7 road car becomes a rough and raw drive when engine swapped. The tail end becomes sketchy and squirrely, mostly under throttle, but also mildly when coasting and braking if we are aggressive on inputs. The handling is fairly good if we are not using the throttle. It turns well enough and feels mostly stable. The power itself is not overwhelming, however the power delivery is. The torque on hand when the throttle is applied is far too aggressive. There is no good way to put it into good use. When we lose traction, there is no way to tell which direction the tail end will kick. It does seem random. This is unnerving when the slide occurs. This is especially true when it happens at high speed in 6th gear and the C7 decides to start drifting. The brakes are decent and besides slowing us down can save us in the angst of traction loss. So when in doubt, brake it out. Let's collect our time. 7 minutes, 19.2 seconds. And now the race tune. With almost double the power, we had to focus all our efforts on making sure we kept traction at the rear end. So we have now shifted our ballast to the rear at a position of 40 and bumped the kilos up to 80. We did, however, set up the body height adjustment to be lower at the front than the rear to help with understeer. Let's see how it performs on the Nürburgring. That rough and raw sensation we once had has now been refined into a more precise and malleable driving experience. It does still feel rough around the edges, but now it's part of its charm and not its entire character. The handling has taken a bit of a hit and we need ballast over the rear wheels for better traction. However, it is more than capable of taking turns effectively. We just have to be more aware of the limitations of the front end. The power is quite brutal, but it has been chained correctly, giving it enough freedom to decimate the road ahead, but not so much that it bites the hand that feeds it. The power delivery still has the same capability to step out aggressively if we are not vigilant on inputs, but if it does get out of hand, it is entirely on us as the driver. The brakes are solid and do an amazing job slowing us down. The stability remains stellar. Let's collect our time. 6 minutes, 19.4 seconds. Moving on to the drift tune. We had to crank the ballast all the way up to 200 kilos at a ballast positioning of 42 over the rear wheels. The tail end was just too slide happy and needed to be pinned and gain some more traction. This provides more control over the tail end and more directional drift. Let's drift Suzuka. The C7 Gr.3 road car with the engine swap is a fairly active drifter. There are many adjustments we can make if we like to work the car hard. But if we are just a chilled guy, it can also be a bit more of a lazy, laid-back experience based on how we choose to drift. It does like to be drifted between 6 and 8,000 RPM. We should stay in this area for the most control under drift conditions. The handling is great in most scenarios and can handle heavy or light touches. The steering is considerably precise even when flat-footing. The power is much more aggressive, so be ready to catch the drift. Power delivery is also much more aggressive and should be modulated for the most part while drifting. We can shake and bake on corner exit. It does handle it well, but we do increase the risk of spinning out as wheel speed rises. The C7 road car is a solid entry for more intermediate or advanced drifters. And that's all we have for you today, so until next time, keep racing!